Welcome to episode number 159 of the Marine Layer podcast. We'll dive into if we've seen anything noticeably different in the first week of Dan Wilson as the Mariners manager. We'll also highlight the second half surges of Bryce Miller and Bryan. We'll go down on the farm and pick out a standout Mariners minor leaguer. We have a Russell Wilson Umpire of the week, and we'll close out the show with Speak Your Mind.
If you guys want to support the show and support the two of us, the biggest way you can do that if you're listening to these podcasts, make sure to rate and review, leave 5 stars. If you're on the YouTube side, just go ahead and hit subscribe. Again, that is the best way you can support us and this channel. So make sure to do that. Like the video if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment, and then check us out on social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, at Marine Layer Pod.
Let's get it rolling.
The pitch from Acevedo. A drive feet to right field. Down the line. The Mariners win this game 2-1. The dream lives. They're going to the playoffs. 1-1 from Jansen. There you go. Left field. We got a tie ball game. Julio. Oh, baby, what a moment. Tie ball game at 7-7.
And we welcome you to this episode of the Marine Layer podcast, part of the Just Baseball Podcast Network. Recording here on Thursday evening, August 29th. Mariners have won back-to-back series. I think that means Dan Wilson has fixed everything.
All praise goes to him. Just judging on how Mariners fans have evaluated this whole saga so far, it does feel like it's going to go a little bit like this. When they win, all the praise in the world is going to go to Dan Wilson because he's a fan favorite. He's been beloved here forever for good reason. But when they lose, they're going to push blame elsewhere, it feels like, which didn't really happen with Scott Service. Maybe that's because he didn't grow up as a Mariners fan favorite.
Interesting. That's an interesting way to put it. Well, it is sort of a wild stat to realize they've won 2 series in a row for the first time since June.
AK when they had their 10-game lead, because it was the White Sox series win at home, the Rangers series win at home. That's when they had the 10-game lead.
It just blows my mind. Yeah. That is mind-boggling how long it has been. And you know what? Like, I'm glad they won these 2 series. It was very important they won these 2 series. They gained some ground in the division and in the wild card with these 2 series wins. But it just kind of felt like they should, right? Watching those games, like it felt like based on your opposition and the talent you were lined up against, judging how you pitch at home and how you pitched in those 6 games, you probably should have won 4 of 6.
And they did, which thank goodness they did, because they haven't done that in a long time. Let me quickly say this, too, about Dan Wilson. I think we said this on Wednesday's show. If we didn't, I'll just say it again. I do think there's a chance he's going to be a very good manager. And obviously, he has the trust of his players. But, again, like, it's just the way everything was handled. Again, the way the saga's kind of going, again, where, like, it seems to be a lot of praise to him when Service didn't really get a whole lot of this. That, like, just feels like it's a little, I don't even know what the right word is. Not two-faced, but, like, it's a double standard, it feels like, for fans right now. Like, that's all.
And the other thing that we said is that, like, this isn't even really Dan's team. He's in charge of it right now, but his team will be next year when he's in charge. That's going to be the team with his stamp on it, where he gets to bring a club through spring training and they can build this culture over the course of an entire season, not taking over for someone else in the middle of a playoff chase. It's just hard, right? So when we make these sarcastic comments about how better Dan Wilson has made the Mariners team, when in reality, a lot of this stuff has already been set in stone. But I will say, since he took over, they've done what they needed to. Even when they played 2 500 or even sub-500 teams in a row over the past 2 months, they have not won back-to-back series. Yeah. Until Dan Wilson took over and they won back-to-back series. Yeah. Not totally insignificant, I will say. But you could also paint it in a bit of a simpler picture, Lyle. They played 6 games in the last week. They scored 4 or more runs in 4 of those games, and they won all 4. They did not score more than 4 runs in 2 of those games, and they lost both of them. Math's amazing. It's pretty simple.
And that gets to a point I want to hit on in a second. But again, like, just to reiterate, I do think Dan Wilson has a chance to be a good manager, a very good manager. But I also think they probably are also 4-2 if Scott Service is still here. Maybe it's a morale thing. Maybe Dan Wilson really is motivating the players inside the clubhouse, which would be things we're not seeing. But the buttons being pushed, the lineups being set, it's not that different. If you listen to Ryan Divish with us on Wednesday, he said the same thing. It's like, again, this is what a manager does now. It's not like the old days. These are front office decisions, and the manager often just deploys it. So, again, I hope Dan Wilson's a really good manager. I want him to be a really good manager because that means this team's going to be successful. And guess what? Dan Wilson is genuinely one of the nicest people you'll meet. Everybody says that, and it's true. But I also do stand by the fact I think they're probably 4-2 in these games if Service is here. Now, maybe these players are more motivated behind closed doors, and that part we wouldn't know. But just the decisions being made, the lineups being run out there, the opposition, it doesn't feel that different. I think that's the ultimate root of what we're trying to get to. It doesn't feel that different.
And you know what I also find interesting? Like, there's always a faction of people who want to play more small ball. For some reason, I guess you guys like less entertaining versions of baseball.
Sad.
We don't even know if Dan Wilson wants to play small ball. He hasn't said it anywhere that he wants to. I think he just wants to score more runs and win. Right?
Yeah. And Salk was talking about this week on Brock and Salk. They had Dan Wilson on. And Salk started to kind of talk about, after listening to Dan Wilson's answer and after hearing some things, I'm not really sure that Leo Rivas' fifth inning bunt was...
That was what I was about to bring up.
That
was the only small ball play all weekend, and it was because the hitter missed a sign.
Yeah, I was going to say...
was not supposed to bunt.
Salk started to say, I don't really know if that was Dan Wilson's call or if Rivas did that on his own. He was like, it's starting to feel like he probably did it on his own.
I went back and I looked through the bunts, these 6 games. I'm pretty sure all except one were just player decisions. It's not a Dan Wilson decision to bunt.
No.
Like Robles on Tuesday. Was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday. Or no, it was yesterday.
Yeah. That
was his decision to bunt.
Yeah. Well, poor decision. That's what I'll say. Because you know what? Bunting sucks. That's becoming a little bit of my bit on the show now, too, on Brock and Salk, that I absolutely hate bunting, which, for those that listen to the podcast and the radio, you know that. Because what do we say, Tej? You are giving yourself less opportunities to score runs by bunting. I know, you move a runner over when you bunt. You're playing small ball and you set up the sac fly. How often do the Mariners hit sac flies? I seem to recall a lot of the time when there's runners on and less than 2 outs, they strike out.
Here's something I want to reiterate when it comes to this team. You can, in theory, build a small ball team to be successful. First of all, this Mariners lineup is not built to play small ball. So, forcing a roster to play something that's not to his strength is not beneficial for everybody. They'll lose more games if you try and do that. I promise you that. Mm-hmm. Second of all, this type of team, based on what they're good and what they're bad at, it's like, okay, let's get a team that already hits, let's use some basic terms, right? So they don't make a whole lot of contact, and that's represented by batting average. They strike out a lot, which means when the ball is thrown in the zone or out of the zone, they swing and miss a lot. But they also have a low chase rate, which means most of those swings come in the strike zone. And you know what playing small ball requires? It requires you to move runners over in a scoring position, and then the runner behind, the hitter behind said bunter, hits the runner in. Well, I would say a team that already doesn't utilize its 27 outs most efficiently because they strike out too much and, frankly, can't put the bat on the ball at all. Yeah, let's give them less outs.
Yeah.
To score runs. Brilliant idea. Seriously, brilliant idea.
Yeah, that's the key here. If you drop down a bunt, you have less opportunities to get the hit to score because that's what it boils down to. You can bunt a guy over all you want. You still need the sac fly or the clutch hit to score a runner. And you're giving this team less chances to come up with the big hit by bunting and forcing outs on the board, when in reality, this team needs all the outs it can get. They need all 27 outs because guess what? They seem to strike out a lot. And you're giving them less of an opportunity to actually do damage by dropping down a bunt, and you're taking away outs.
Speaking of approach at the plate, one last Dan Wilson point before we actually heap some praise and actually start to try and be positive, Lyle. Who could have thought we could be positive?
Missing that. I'm going to be honest, because we've had 2 or 3 straight weeks where every podcast is just
I think it's longer than that. Let's say date back to the trade deadline, I would say. What? Trade deadline was positive. Everything since is not.
Which has not been fun. Like, genuinely, what do we always tell people? We like to be the positive podcast. It's way more fun to talk about the team in an upbeat way. It's more fun for everybody. But we also are transparent with everybody on here, and we like to say how we are feeling in real life. We take those feelings onto the podcast and share them with you guys because we want to be transparent. We want to be relatable. We want to show all you this is how we're really feeling. And the last 3 to 4 weeks, it sucked. And I think we've showed that on the podcast. But you know what? There are praises to sing now this week. So we're going to do that. But yeah, to wrap up the Dan Wilson thing, I know you have another point to make. I will just say that it's been good. Happy that they're 4-2. Again, I don't know how different it would be with Scott's service. I'll also say offense still has to hit because they scored 4 or more runs in 4 of those games, but a lot of it was kind of fluky. On Monday, they got 5 runs on the board, and 2 of them were earned because they benefited off an error and a ball that hit the bag at third. And like it was a little luck on Monday. They also scored a couple runs on a double play and a fielder's choice on Sunday against the Giants. And then on Friday, Dan Wilson's first game, yeah, they had the big rally in the 8th, but for 7 innings, this offense has looked as incompetent as ever. And they finally strung something together. Like, I'm glad they did, but it looked really bad. And honestly, pretty on par the first 7 innings of that Friday game. So they need to string together about a week's worth of good offense for me to sit here and be like, okay, maybe something's really changing.
Let's do 3 weeks. I think I want longer than that.
Sure. 3 weeks
a
is
month,
totally fine.
Into next year, into the end of next year, actually, I'll say. That's what I need. And approach-wise, yeah, they struck out 66 times in those 6 games. In case you're curious, that is over their season average. So Edgar Martinez, as great of a hitter as he is, did not fix the Mariners' strikeout problem in 1 week, in case you were curious. Now, they did walk 27 times. A lot of that came to the fact that the Giants' pitchers could not throw strikes, and it got corrected a little bit against a better pitching staff in the Rays, who only walked the Mariners 6 times. But walking has not been an issue for the Mariners this year. They have the fourth highest walk rate in baseball. And they don't chase either. 4th lowest chase rate in baseball, too. It's the whole concept, Lyle, of when they throw it over the plate, you swing and you hit the ball. That's what the Mariners struggle with the most. And, again, I don't like 1 6-game sample that we have with Dan Wilson and Edgar Martinez in charge of those things. Yeah, no. They hit a couple home runs. That's why they scored some runs. They got 3 yesterday. That was fun. Julio pulling a ball in the air. That's how you score runs.
Mm-hmm. So, I love Blake Snell. Seattle guy. Huge Seattle sports fan. Very relatable. I often say I think him and Taylor Saucedo are 2 peas in a pod. I think their personalities are actually very similar. They're both Seattle guys, huge Seattle sports fans, big gamers, a bunch of things.
Lefties.
However, I think we probably saw a glimpse on Saturday of, despite what a lot of people were saying, us included, we were big vouchers of the Mariners should go get Blake Snell back in the offseason. But we may have seen a little glimpse of why the Mariners shied away from it, because he has starts like he does on Saturday, where for a team that preaches dominate the zone and pound in the strike zone, especially from their starting pitching, Blake Snell was all over the place on Sunday with his pitches, or on Saturday. He was walking a lot of guys.
Yeah. Well,
also to the Edgar point, little fun game before we transition. Do you know what his career strikeout rate was?
It's going to make me sad. 14%.
You basically got it right on the money. 13.9.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane.
That is.
Or I'm sorry. 13.9 was, that's his K rate. His career walk rate was 14.8%. So he was a little Juan Soto-ish in that way that a lot of people don't remember. Walked more than he struck out.
I think Edgar Martinez can have and continue to have, like he's tried to do this year, a big impact on the Mariners' hitting philosophy, especially with 2 strikes. But it's not going to come in the last half of the season. Where the real damage is going to be done is in the offseason, is when the hitting approach and what the Mariners are going to try and communicate to these private hitting coaches and their players on what they want to see and how they can avoid doing what they've done this season. Because they can't just repeat what they've done. Right? So that's what it is. So, It's been a good week of Mariners baseball. It has been a while since you and I could say that. A good week of Mariners baseball where they've played well enough. They've hit the ball over the fence. They haven't shot themselves in the foot with mistakes, and they pitched pretty well. So, like, that's the recipe. But now you have 3 straight series on the road. You have, I can't do math here, 10-game road trip coming up. Angels, A's, Cardinals. This is where the damage has to be done. You've not been as good on the road. You're, I think, 10 games under 500 on the road. Got to play better on the road. You have to win all 3 of these series. If we're going by what we talked about last week, we're counting off wins till essentially you and I eliminate them. What are they at right now? 6? About, give or take? 6 wins?
Against, say that one more time.
6 losses the rest of the season. Right?
Oh, for our 90 win mark. Yeah. 6 or 7.
6. Yeah.
Also, I hate to say it, and this sounds asinine to even say, but I think it's true. That A's series isn't going to be a breeze. The A's, by some miracle, are actually playing half decent ball.
Yeah. Dude, Lawrence Butler had another 3-dinger game today.
Yet their offense all of a sudden can hit. Lawrence Butler, obviously we all know about Brent Rooker. They've got a few guys in that lineup that are really swinging it.
Yeah, is there staff in baseball that's really good at home but not as good on the road?
Oh.
Uh-oh. 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 Did I say that? Who said that? Oh, maybe.
Oh, maybe it was a ghost.
I would like to remind everyone before we get to our positive segment, I also believe Lyle has something to read before we get to that. But we are filling in on 710 again on Monday, Labor Day. We will be on. We're still trying to confirm exactly how many hours we're going to be on the radio, but we will be filling in for Brock and Salk on Monday morning, either 6 to 10 or 7 to 10. But we gotta clear that up. Third time's a charm, dog. Yeah. Gotta wow the people.
You have to wow the people. You're going to be able to wow them sitting in your room this time. So for those who don't know, the first couple times TJ and I were both in person and doing it from the studio. I'll be in the studio Monday, but since football season's in swing now down in Corvallis, and TJ's a very busy person, the best way we decided for it to work out is he's going to do it remotely. So you're going to wow people from inside your apartment?
So I'm going to take a guess, and I think I'm right. This is going to be the first ever broadcast on 710 from Philomath, Oregon. I will confidently say that. Do you think there's been anyone else who's done that?
I couldn't tell you one other person ever that's lived in Philomath, Oregon, so sure.
Okay. Well, there we go. I'll hang the plaque.
I would say that's a safe bet. But yeah, no, it's going to be fun. Obviously, we'll have a bunch of Mariner stuff to talk about. We might rehash some of that stuff from what we talked about with Divish on Wednesday's pod, which, by the way, has just been a firestorm on Twitter.
Let's spend a couple minutes on that.
Okay.
Holy hell.
To wrap up the Brock and Talk thing really fast. Yeah, we're really looking forward to it. Obviously, we appreciate it a ton. We're really excited about it. Stuff we certainly don't ever take for granted. And hopefully, if you guys have some time on Labor Day, you'll tune in and you'll send us some phone calls or texts and share us your thoughts, all that good stuff. But yeah, like you said, third time's a charm. We're really excited about it, and we can't wait. If you can't make it to tune in live, podcast will be out too. So anyway, yeah, we will probably rehash some of this stuff from Wednesday with Divish. And now to spend a minute or two on this, wow. So when we listen to Divish say this stuff on Wednesday, if you listen to the second part of that podcast, you hear the two of us just basically ranting and raging for good reason, because while obviously like Divish is such a great podcast guest and is so transparent and does not shy away from sharing information, which we appreciate a ton, and he gives fans a real glimpse behind the curtains, us included, that was not anything that I wanted to hear. Like, I didn't want to hear a single bit of that. I'm glad he shared it with us, but as a fan, I don't want to hear that stuff. We're ranting and raging about it. I figured, well, people might take notice of this, and boy, people did.
Yeah, I thought it would be interesting, but you and I had him on to talk about Scott Service. And it's like, oh, well, I had like a couple questions at the end to sort of complete the circle. So then we check in here on Thursday, and that interview in the span of a little of 36 hours made it on 710, KJR, Locked On Mariners, Mariner Mojo. What else am I missing? It literally lit Mariners Twitter on fire yesterday. I want to shout out to all you guys, all of our first-time listeners. Holy crap, we got about a 40% bump in listens yesterday. Thank you so much, because, wow. I mean, it literally traversed all facets of Seattle media yesterday. That was crazy.
I mean, the tweets surrounding that interview all encompassing? I mean, there were some tweets that blew up about it. We might be approaching like a couple million Twitter impressions and just views on content centered around an interview we did, because, man, again, people were pissed seeing that on Wednesday. And so were we. Again, like, you listen to the second part of the podcast. The two of us were pissed hearing that the Mariners could be thinking like that. Now, let's put an emphasis on that. There is no saying this is going to happen. This is Divish saying, like, it's possible. Like, it may be something they entertain. Doesn't mean it's a foregone conclusion. So let's not sit there and say it's happening. Because, again, sometimes on Twitter, people take things stretch the truth a little bit, a little out of proportion. But even hearing that it's a possibility, yeah, of course we're pissed hearing that. And a lot of people were too.
But we also had 72 hours from when we recorded that interview with Divish until when it was released to sort of process the information. Mm-hmm. And then it gets dumped onto everyone's plate on Wednesday, and it goes, it's like a match in a dry forest. Just boom.
Yeah.
Mariners are going to blow a 10-game lead in record time. Lose the division to the Astros again for the eighth consecutive year. They're going to trade their Cy Young frontrunner and the guy they just traded a bunch for at the trade deadline, all in an effort to what?
Make all the fans happy and show up for fireworks and bobbleheads.
Oh my goodness,
dude!
Yeah, so Bryan Divish is the best.
He is, and honestly,
that's all I have to say.
To take a page out of his book, because he used this as an analogy when everything in the offseason was going down about all the RSN stuff and people freaking out about that. I'll use his analogy from back then to this. It was like Lord of the Flies. That's what he said. I mean, we have people in our comments. If it's even true, I don't know, because, again, people can say anything in YouTube comments or social media comments. There's people in there. I've been a fan for 40 years, and today I just canceled my season tickets.
Just because what the beat writer said.
Yeah. Yeah, that really... we'll have some takes every now and then, clips of ours, things we'll say, interviews we'll do that get out there. But, man, this one really made its rounds.
You know how we floated the idea to Divish that for one of his tweets he should turn off replies?
Yeah.
So he should break the Logan Gilbert trade and then turn off the replies. And then retire.
That would actually be hilarious. It's like sources telling me Logan Gilbert being traded for X amount of players. Also, this is my last tweet as the Mariners beat writer. I'm retired, with a picture of the Crown Royal bottle. Just all in one tweet. It's like, I'm out. It's the whole Jon Snow thing, and now my watch is ended. Divish just leaves with a bang like that.
Or like the Marchand tweet, where he hung his cleats up.
It would be like the Marchand tweet hanging up the cleats, and not a long time ago, back in April or May when we had Divish on the podcast then, we were telling him you should just post a picture of an empty Crown bottle as your Sia tweet the way Marchand did with the cleats. That's what we were telling him. But I'm thinking of, like, if he does that paired with breaking the news about a trade that's going to set the fan base on fire, he really does the whole Jon Snow thing, and now my watch is ended. He just absolutely leaves with a bang.
So he breaks it, and then everyone's, like, scrambling to get him on to talk about it, and he's like, oh, I'm retired now.
The only thing I'll be doing is drinking way too much Crown in Montana and gambling.
Yeah. Work at a bar.
Yeah. Well, unless, of course, he decides to end up being the Mariners' VP of common sense, like he suggested.
Yeah, I know. He said he likes consulting work. Mariners people, if you're listening to this, he's a great guy to have.
He is. And as Divish said, he's got a really good pulse on the fan base. He's got a pretty good worldview, all that stuff. Like, he knows how things are perceived. So, as he said, too, like, paid consulting is basically the easiest and most BS work of all time. So, absolutely, he'd do it. It'd be like, so, Ryan, it's like somebody from the Mariners texts him, we're planning to make another firing today. And we were thinking that we're actually going to leak it to social media first again. Can you give us your intake on this? And Divish is like, let me give you my 2 cents. No. Now pay me my $5,000. Like, and there is your VP of common sense. What a guy.
But they wouldn't even get to that point. They'd be like, Ryan, we're thinking of firing someone to... No. But no.
However, it's like, let me just stop you right there. However you think is the right way to handle it, you're wrong. You know why I know that? Because you have proven time and time and time again that you cannot execute this the right way. No. So let me tell you how to actually do it. And as the VP of common sense, here's what you do. Now pay me my money.
God, we're going to miss him so much.
I know. I don't like.
We make him sign a contract so he at least doesn't retire for another 5 years.
I know. That's the thing. That's like we really have no idea how much longer he's going to keep doing it, because he always says he's year to year every year. It could be this winter. It probably won't be. He's probably not going to retire as soon as this winter or anything like that. But it could be then. It could be in 8 years. It could be in 3 years. Like I don't know. He keeps people on their toes with that. And listen, Adam's awesome. Adam Jude, who's, we've gotten to know, is incredibly good at his job, really fun to talk to. We've had him on this podcast, but as good as he'd be at the job and he'd fill the shoes very, very well, there is no Ryan Divish.
I know. Half of me thinks that he sneakily doesn't want to do it.
I'm sure he plays up the Twitter bit a little bit, of course. Everybody does. Everybody plays up their character a little bit when they're online or whatever. So I'm sure there's a part of him that, he's connected to Montana, and that's where most of his roots are. So I'm sure he'd be happy being there long term. But yeah, deep down he enjoys the job. Of course he does. He just likes to act like he doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Okay. Quick pause before we get to finally a positive segment on this show. Another positive thing you can do if you want to have a good time out with your friends and watch some games, you can head over to our friends at Pagach's Pub 85. That's over in Kirkland. There's more than 20 TVs in that place. There's pool, there's darts, there's awesome food, and happy hour drink specials that are $3 and $4. Yeah, $3 and $4. I don't think you're going to find deals like that anywhere else. If you do, good luck. We're giving you a one-stop shop to have $3 and $4 drinks for happy hour. So that's Monday through Friday, 2 to 6 p.m. All of that is over at Pagach's Pub 85. Again, sports watching, games to play, food to eat, great drink specials, all over at Pagach's Pub 85 in Kirkland. So, we got to talk about Bryce Miller and Bryan Woo. We have kicked this segment down the road so far now because it feels like every time we want to talk about these guys, breaking news comes up. The Randy trade happens. The Scott Service firing happens. There's all these things going on and on. The Mariners have an awful road trip where it's nobody's going to want to hear about a positive story because that's not the main story. But finally, we can highlight these dudes because they deserve it, man. They have been awesome all year in the second half. And when we said they had to take a step forward in the latter half of the season for the Mariners to have a chance, they've done that.
Let me put this into context a little bit regarding how they've stepped forward versus the Mariners rotation. I think Bryce Miller and Bryan Woo have taken bigger steps forward in year 2 than the other two Mariners developed arms in this rotation, in Logan Gilbert and George Kirby. In terms of improvement, I think they've improved more than those two did in their years 1 to 2. That's really what we're talking about. And I think no one epitomizes that more than, I'd say, Bryce does. Bryce had a lot to work on last year, but he's turned it around this year, and he has been underratedly one of the best pitchers in the American League coming here down the stretch. So let's put a little bit more context behind this. You and I highlighted the last time we hosted Brock and Salk that Bryce Miller and Bryan Wood had to pitch better down the stretch for the Mariners to have a chance at the playoffs. Well, they've been one of the main reasons why the Mariners still have a chance at the playoffs. Listen to these August stats for these two. Bryce is running out a 2.22 ERA in a little over 28 innings in August, 34 strikeouts to just 4 walks, 175, 206, 330 /line. Now, Bryan Wood has a 1.59 ERA in the month of August, 34 innings, 31 strikeouts, 3 walks, and a 164, 190, 238 /line. It's pretty insane for guys who, I mean, at this time of year could be running into a wall or peaking, actually.
So let's put that into even a little bit more context. You said Bryce Miller's August ERA is 2.22. In July, it was 1.80. In other words, he's had an unreal second half. His second half ERA last year was 4.60. 4.60. Now, Bryan Wood, his second half ERA, 1.65 right now. 1.65. His second half ERA last year, 4.58. So you're talking about two guys that have gone from essentially 4.6 ERAs in the second half in their rookie year to basically both close to sub 2. Woo's below 2. Bryce is right about there. That's pretty remarkable for year 1 and year 2 development for two guys that weren't high draft picks. We talked about the fact last year Bryce Miller just isn't going to be able to get away with 2 pitches for much longer. We said about this time last year, he has to add something in the offseason. Well, he did, and we can get to that. But just talking about the lack of hitting the wall for each of these guys now in year 2, it's been the biggest difference maker in this rotation.
Really, just like they've been the two most consistent guys here in the second half in this rotation, which it's crazy to think about in that case. So I want to go one pitcher by one pitcher, so we give each guy a proper amount of time. I didn't even realize this looking at Bryce's Savant page. He's up to throwing 7 pitches now on the season. He threw 7 pitches in his last start, and I saw a little of this highlighted online, and I was digging into it a little more, and I agree with this sentiment, is that Bryce Miller's last start, which he made on Monday, let me make it on Monday or Tuesday, whichever day against the Rays it was, struck out 10 over 7 innings, 7 with allowed 1 run, threw just 91 pitches, so the efficiency was there as well. He threw all 7 of his pitches in that start and was able to get out pitches on his fastball, his splitter, and his knuckle curve. And his knuckle curve, in case you're not familiar, he added that pitch and has thrown it a lot more over the last 2 months. And it's really helped him out to sort of balance having an out pitch versus righties versus lefties, because Bryce's combo against lefties is fastball splitter. His combo against righties is fastball knuckleball. And that's big. We thought the splitter would be sort of a buy-out pitch. Like he could get both righties and lefties out on that pitch without really much of an issue. But once adding the knuckle curve and making the adjustment to his splitter that he did, where he said he wanted to, instead of letting it sort of float arm side, he was going to bring it back over the plate and just try and throw it right at that bottom rung in the strike zone. It has paid immense dividends for Bryce Miller, and he looks all of a sudden like one of the most complete pitchers in this rotation in terms of everything he offers. His only thing is pitching on the road, which is why, Lyle, this upcoming road trip is so huge for Bryce. He's got 2 road starts coming up on this 10-game road trip. So he's got to go out there, and I'm hoping, based on some of these tweaks he's made here in the second half with the knuckle curve and the splitter, that he goes out there and he pitches much better on the road. Because eventually someone is going to need to defeat this narrative that this pitching staff can't pitch outside of T-Mobile Park, because the numbers suggest something otherwise.
If you actually look at it starter by starter, there are a couple guys that can pitch well on the road in this rotation. Woo pitches pretty well on the road. I believe Logan pitches pretty well on the road. Yeah. I think Kirby and Bryce are the two that really struggle away from T-Mobile. I can double check that here while we're talking, but I believe it's those two that really struggle, and it's Logan and Bryan that have had some success. But yes, Bryce Miller specifically, it's been pretty well highlighted. His career ERA inside T-Mobile Park is 2.79, and on the road it's 4.95. It's a pretty drastic difference. Bryce Miller's not a perfect pitcher yet. I don't know if the perfect pitcher even exists, but Bryce Miller's not totally there yet. Again, he still has to pitch better on the road. He's still getting hit pretty hard. But you know what? Logan Gilbert got hit pretty hard early on in his career, and then eventually started to figure it out a little bit. He cut it down a little. Now, similar to Logan, Bryce may just give up home runs in his career. It may just be a part of his game with his fastball usage, but that doesn't mean his hard hit rate can't go down over time. So there are things for Bryce Miller to still improve on as time goes on, but for a guy that's in year 2, it's been pretty remarkable what he's been able to do. And now the next step, to your point, is can he go out on the road and look like he has looked at home? Because if he can, especially during this stretch where they need every win they can get, it's going to be another telling sign.
How about this rotation and their ability to just not walk guys? Like Bryce early in the season walked a ton of batters. In 53 and a third innings here in the last 2 months, he's walked 5 batters. It's like him and Wu have essentially just quit on walking batters. It's pretty crazy. The ability to, like, Bryce filled up the zone pretty well last year too, but now he's doing it while having a more efficient swing and miss profile as well, which is,
right.
Man, it's impressive. And it leads to a couple of things that are just like something you wouldn't, if you're not a Mariner fan, you might not know this. Bryce Miller is 4th in Major League Baseball in WHIP. In all of baseball. It goes Logan Gilbert 1st, Tyler Glasnow 2nd, Tarek Skubal 3rd. So 3 pretty good pitchers. And then Bryce Miller is 4th of that group. Fewest earned base runners allowed per inning, essentially, is what WHIP is. But here's the other, just one that might just go over your head. He has the most starts in baseball of 6 shutout.
It's wild.
You wouldn't think
really
of that.
Wild. No, you would think somebody like Logan would just simply have more, but it's Bryce Miller. It's pretty good. In fact, it's really good. Man, and there are so many things he's really taken steps forward with this year. I mean, in addition to everything we've already mentioned, to focus in on a splitter a little bit more. Let's say this again. How many times did we harp on in the second half of last year? Look, Bryce Miller isn't just going to add a pitch midseason. You can't do it. Nobody can, for the most part. This offseason, he's probably going to need to devote time to finding a third pitch. He did. Well, now he has 7, but the real third pitch is this splitter. What has it done this year? Well, opponents are hitting 165 against it. They're slugging 256, and the expected batting average on it, 192. So Bryce Miller in one offseason has said, look, I have the 2 pitches. I've got to find something else. I have to find something to neutralize lefties and keep guys a little more off balance because I just can't throw this many fastballs. Well, he's found it. It's been an awesome pitch. The run value speaks for itself on it too. And guys don't hit it. So shout out to you, Bryce Miller, because clearly you had a plan for this offseason. You attacked it, and it's working. Because now your OPS against lefties, once upon a time, it was over 900 a year ago for the season. Over 900. And that was a narrative around Bryce Miller you just can't do that in year 2. It's too drastic. Well, lefties have started to hit him a little bit harder as of late, but overall for the year, his OPS against lefties, 699. He has totally neutralized lefties, and that mark is perfectly reasonable, manageable. I'd even call it a pretty good mark for the most part. He is not letting lefties destroy him anymore. Righties still don't hit him at all. Their OPS is 500. But he has really kept lefties in check this year, and a lot of that has to do with the splitter usage.
Here's the last note on Bryce Miller, and I want everyone to keep this in mind when you watch him here over the final month this season. He is now officially in uncharted territory innings-wise. He is a third of an inning past his mark from last season. So every out he gets from here on out is a mark he has yet to cross in his life, innings count-wise. So just keep that in mind. There could be a wall here for Bryce Miller in terms of durability. I hope there's not. The Mariners' playoff hopes can hinge on him not hitting a wall. It would certainly help a lot because the pitching is what is carrying this team. But I just want people to keep that in mind as Bryce goes into this month. Now, For the next guy, Lyle, that's not going to be the case. He could have a month similar to what he just had, and then he would just reach his mark from last season.
Right. And that would be Bryan Woo. 20 seconds before we get to Woo, just to answer the question about pitcher by pitcher in terms of road ERA. So Logan and Kirby actually have both been at about mid-ground now, given how their last couple of starts have each gone on the road. So Logan's road ERA is now 3.81 for the year, and Kirby's is 3.92. So yeah, paired with Bryce Miller's being close to 5, this rotation as a whole just has to pitch better on the road. It's great you pitch well at home, but it's got to be a little bit better than that on the road, especially in this final month. Anyway,
right.
Bryan Woo has pitched amazing on the road. But to look at him as a whole, again, we talked about it just a couple minutes ago. A year ago, his second half ERA was 4.58. Now it sits at 1.65. Where do you want to start with this guy? I mean, you know I love watching Bryan Woo. He's my favorite guy in the rotation to watch pitch. Where do we even want to start? Do you, honestly, can we just start with the walks? The fact he is actually walking less batters than George Kirby. The fact he is legitimately, for the guy who's been tabbed as the king of not walking guys, the king of command in George Kirby, Bryan Woo, for a guy that actually walked a fair amount of hitters a year ago, now has just decided, I don't walk anybody anymore. He's in the 99th percentile of the league in walk rate. It's crazy.
Well, where I actually wanted to start is where I say I was wrong.
Oh, you were wrong.
He can start game 3. He could start game 3.
Wow. It's like music to the ears. It's almost like, I know ball, as what's his name, as Roman would say, acknowledge me.
So the walks are incredible.
Right. I got it right. Yeah. Woo! Oh, yeah, I deserve a round of applause, especially after the fact you dropped an F-bomb on me the first time I dropped that take saying I was crazy, and then a bunch of people online said the same thing. Yeah, I do deserve my flowers on this.
Well,
but I'm glad you
pat yourself on the back and buy yourself a gold medal or something.
That sounds nice.
Congratulations.
I will pat myself on the back. Anyway, go ahead.
So the walks are pretty insane. It's also, like, I just can't get over his fastballs. Just can't. This physically should not be possible, what he's doing with his fastballs. He throws his 2 fastballs 75% of the time, and the combined slugs under 300. That's insane. When Luis Castillo first got here and we highlighted his insane fastball usage, he was not throwing it 75% of the time. You know, when you throw a pitch 75% of the time, the hitter usually has a pretty good idea of what's coming. And you still can't hit it. You can't do any damage on that pitch. That's pretty insane. When we talked about his whip numbers, he would be first in baseball in whip if he was qualified. And the Mariners would have 3 of the top 5 starters in baseball when it comes to walks and hits per innings pitch, which I think is insane. But there's just no better success story of the Mariners pitching development than there is of Bryan Woo. It just continues to amaze, what they have managed to find with some of this scouting and the development within their organization. Bryan Woo was not good in college. He was not good. Not a good pitcher. This isn't a compliment for Bryan Woo, but Lyle will get this joke. He would have fit right in on the ASU baseball pitching staff in college. He would have been perfect. But Bryan Woo has come to the big leagues, and he has been unbelievable. And the biggest knock on him, and the reason I refuse to say he should start game 3, I'm he doesn't pitch deep enough into games. Well, he just pitched the most innings he has in August of any month of his career in 34 innings. He has pitched into the 7th inning in each of his last 5 starts. Right after I said that, he does that. So he's essentially going like this to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were looking down, so I needed to make sure you're doing it. In case you're just listening, I was flipping Lyle the double bird and moving up and down.
Yes.
So that's what Bryan Woo thinks about me saying he can't pitch deep into games. Yeah, Blake Snell, guess what? You guys are familiar with the Blake Snell quote where he's like, don't doubt me about pitching deep into games. So that was Bryan Woo to the Marine Lair podcast, or half of the pod.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's half. Some people on this podcast said, I want Bryan Woo starting game 3 no matter what. And like I said, I'm getting my flowers now. You know what I actually want to circle back to? Because to your point, yeah, Bryan Woo, Cal Poly product, had Tommy John surgery in college, 6th round pick. College numbers were not great. He was mostly a reliever, honestly, in college. But clearly, the Mariners loved his stuff, and for good reason. You know what I want to circle back to here for a second? So Trent Blank, who is on the Mariners pitching staff, on the big league staff, he said that, what's his technical role? Major League Pitching Coordinator? Is that what it is? Here.
That sounds right.
He is, Director of Pitching Strategy. I think that's what it is. Okay.
Close enough.
Anyway, yeah. So anyway, he said at one point, Aaron Goldsmith brought this up on a broadcast last year. He said that when they were scouting Bryan Woo and doing everything for the draft back in 2021, their whole evaluation process, apparently Trent Blank liked Bryan Woo so much, he would have taken him with the number 1 pick in the draft, despite the awful numbers he had in college. And the reason I was looking away when you were giving me and everybody the double bird is because I wanted to check something here. The 2021 draft. I'm looking at the first round all of a sudden, and I'm sitting here saying, does Trent Blank actually know ball? And obviously he knows ball because he's great at his job and is a huge reason this rotation's been so good.
That was Henry Davis, right?
So let's go down the list really quick here. Here's some of the high-end first-round pitchers in that draft. Jack Leiter went 2. Well, we know how that's gone so far. Yeah. Jackson Jobe went 3. Now, his upside is actually supposed to be very good. We'll see what he does as a big leaguer, but he has not pitched in the big leagues yet, so we'll see. Frank Mazzucato went 7 to the Royals. He's been awful in the minor leagues. You keep going down the list. Sam Bachman at 9 to the Angels in a classic Angels pick. The guy's now a reliever, and he's not even a very good reliever. Kumar Rocker went 10 to the Mets. He is not a New York Met. He didn't even sign. And he's still not in the big leagues with the Rangers either. Andrew Painter went 13. Again, his upside's good, but he hasn't pitched in the big leagues yet. Obviously, his ceiling is very, very high, and he has a chance to be really good with the Phillies, but we'll see. Will Bednar goes 14. Keep going down in this draft. Michael McGreevy goes 18. Gunnar Hoagland goes 19. Jordan Wicks goes 21. He hasn't been great in the big league so far. Gavin Williams goes 23. Now, he's been pretty good for the Guardians, but Ryan Cusick goes 24. Chase Petty went 26. Maddox Bruns goes 29 to the Dodgers. The point of this is, I don't think you can definitively say any of those guys have been better than Bryan Woo. I honestly, I'll just put my stamp on it. None of those guys have been better than Bryan Woo's been, especially with what he's done this year. So that all goes back to the point. Now, would it have looked absolutely crazy at the time to see Bryan Woo go in the top 5 of the draft? Not that the Mariners had a top 5 pick, but still. The Mariners had taken Bryan Woo in that first round at 14 over Harry Ford, or 12, I'm sorry, over Harry Ford. People would have been like, what is going on? But they clearly saw something. They clearly loved something. They got him at great value. And now, I mean, his upside is just so insane. So insane. So, again, I'm sure that story was supposed to be a little bit of an exaggeration because obviously in when it all came down to it, Scott Hunter, the entire draft team, Jerry, Justin did not say we're taking Bryan Woo in the first round. But point is, this Mariners pitching group looked at him, said, oh, yeah, we've got something here, and they were absolutely right.
So what about him, though, in August? What has allowed him to continue to take this step, Laux? The story's great, but in reality, it's the combination of those two fastballs. But we talked a little bit, similar to Bryce, that he needed a second pitch, and he had his changeup. He threw it 4% of the time last season, and it's been up and down usage-wise this year. So it's interesting. Bryan Woo's 2 best months of the year was the first month he came back in May. That's the first month he was back. And then in August. Those were his 2 best two best ERA months of the year. Any coincidence or not, it was the 2 months he threw his changeup the most. So he threw it 9% in May. He threw it 12% in August, which is the highest percent he's ever thrown his changeup in a month. And it's important because we talk about neutralizing lefties. and Bryan Wu struggled with lefties last year. When he gets a chance to throw that pitch more, like it is very effective. He allowed just a 195 slug on that pitch, run values 3, and it's a pitch he almost exclusively throws to lefties 23% of the time. So if you match up the percentages, it's 75% fastball, 23% changeup to lefties. It works out and worked out, right? And it's effective for him. It's that third pitch that, righties can't do anything on his fastball. Lefties have a better chance against it. That's why he needs the changeup. So it's good. It's good to see that pitch coming along. I'm curious if he throws a little bit more than that, but it's a good development.
Lefties don't have that much better a chance. You want to talk about the OPSs again. Bryan Wu, after getting crushed by lefties last year, another guy who had a 900 OPS facing lefties, 517. Opponents, left-handed batters, putting up a 517 OPS against Bryan Wu. Righties are putting up a 418 OPS. So yes, by technical definition, lefties have a better chance. But yeah, this guy's insane. And the changeup usage is so crucial because as great as those fastballs are, at some point, yeah, you still need the third pitch. And he didn't throw that changeup much last year. He threw it less than 4% of the time, and when he was throwing it, it wasn't all that effective. Now all of a sudden, it's much closer to the 10% range, and it's very effective. I mean, I still think one of his breaking balls at some point in time here also has a chance to be a really good pitch because the actual pure shape and stuff of it is really good. I was reading an article last year and over the winter too. I went back and read it on Pitcher List just about how unique Bryan Wu is. So come year 3, maybe one of his breaking balls also has the chance to take a real step forward because he's so early on in his career. He hasn't even come close to 200 big league innings yet. So he's got so much time ahead of him, and this is what he's already done. It's pretty wild.
Super exciting. And the Mariners are very appreciative of these performances here in August because Logan Gilbert and George Kirby have had their bumps this month. So have Luis Castillo. But these two, it's been steady.
Let me make one more point because for those who didn't hear, Cal Raleigh went on Mookie Betts' podcast recently, and they actually spent some time talking about Bryan Wu. And Mookie Betts, future Hall of Famer Mookie Betts, slam dunk Hall of Famer, is sitting there talking about Bryan Wu, and he's like, that guy is nasty. Betts is sitting there saying, you're looking at his fastball, it's there, and then all of a sudden it isn't. It just isn't there. That's basically how Mookie described it. It moves like crazy, and Cal said he has a chance to be really, really special. And kind of like, I know I've talked more about the stories here than the numbers of Wu, and you spent some time on the numbers, but Cal was talking about how when Wu kind of had that bump in the road middle of the year where he kept having these minor injuries flare up on him, they talked about, Cal said, like, this has been written about, I believe Cal talked about it on the podcast a little bit, that they sat and had a very real conversation about, I think your preparation as a big leaguer, it has been good so far, but it's got to change a little bit. You got to be willing to adapt a little bit because it can be even better. And as a big leaguer, you just have to get used to adapting and changing some of your routines in order to continue finding success. And as we all know, Cal has the utmost respect of not just everybody on the team, but certainly everybody in the rotation. Wu took that seriously. And since that time, that is right when he started going on this stretch of going over 6 innings, 7 innings, etc., and just dominating opponents. It's made a big difference. So shout out to Cal Raleigh and all this too, but Bryan Wu's acceptance of understanding he needs to change some things and change his routine and process a little bit more, just another thing that's helped him take a step forward. So pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool indeed. Before we go down on the farm, let's hear a word from Game Time. We know, guys, it's sometimes harder to believe in the Mariners, but there are still a few final weekends of summer to get out to the ballpark, and if you decide to do that, let Game Time help you get there with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. The Mariners don't get back to town for a little while, but that also means there's a bunch of time to get in on some good ticket deals. Padres are in town September 10th and 11th, and you can snag seats to those games for as little as $15 on the Game Time app. Or if you don't want to wait all the way till then and you still want to get in on the action with Game Time, you can look for seats for the Seahawks home opener against the Broncos, looking at tickets here, and you can get in for $171. Get a panoramic view of your seat and toggle the all-in pricing feature so you know how much you're paying and what your view is before you buy. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Let's go down on the farm. Lyle, who are you going to highlight today?
We haven't talked about Ty Pete a ton this year. And when you look at the basic numbers, sure, he isn't lighting the world on fire in Modesto, but quietly he's had a pretty nice year. And for a guy that just turned 19 years old and was playing in a league that usually features some older players and he was certainly one of the youngest players in the league. He certainly was last year when he got there. But on the year, stolen 41 bases, which just speaks to his speed and athleticism. He's got 22 doubles. He's got 36 extra base hits. And his OPS, again, it's not crazy through the roof. It's at about the 730s, but he's had streaks at times of the year where he's been hot. And now he's actually starting to move around and play some different positions to give him a little more versatility, which he might need with all the infielders that are in the system. So we just want to find some new guys to talk about here on the Down on the Farm segment. And for Ty Pete's sake, in a lot of ways, like, it's been a really good year for the guy. Again, how many guys in the system are stealing 40-plus bases? There's not that many. Paired with the upside that we know Ty has, in a lot of ways, this has been a very, very, very positive first season for him down in Modesto because he's set a foundation for himself. And at being a guy that just turned 19 years old, you can see where all the upside is. He just homered again today here on Thursday. So you're starting to see it. And it's fun to watch him, have his success there.
Seeing the tools, we just kind of want to see the bat come around. But he's got a lot of time. A guy I'm going to highlight, we've already highlighted this year, had his struggles in Modesto as well for 2 full seasons before he finally broke out as a high schooler. So it's not like there's no rush in the Mariner sense. Not when you're a first rounder. They want to get it right. Yeah,
and again for Ty's first full season, there's been a lot of positives to take away. Like, again, sure, it can get better. I'm sure if you were to ask Ty, he'd say, yeah, I'd like to play a little bit better. But there's also a lot of things that you can take away that are absolutely a success for him. So, obviously, he's a friend of this podcast, so we're rooting for him, and we just figured we'd highlight him here. Again,
yeah,
41
I would say it's cool to see the tools on display.
Very cool. Yeah, 41 stolen bases is a lot.
My guy's Michael Morales, and the last time we talked about Mr. Michael Morales, he was still in Everett. But now he got the bump up to Arkansas. He's in the rotation. He's there with Logan Evans. He's there with Brandon Garcia. And he, after having a tough start, he had allowed multiple earned runs in his first handful of starts in AA. He's turned 4 starts in a row where he's allowed a total of 4 runs, which is really, really nice. Actually, no, 5 runs over those starts. But his last 4 starts, once getting to AA, have been really good. I mean, 5 innings, 7 strikeouts, one run allowed his last time out. 6 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts, second to last time out. 3 starts ago, it was 6 innings, did give up 4 hits, struck out 4, but then he had a 6-inning shutout start where he struck out 12 against Tulsa. That's pretty good. Like, he's a 21-year-old working his way into AA, was in Modesto at this time last year struggling. He had his 2 full seasons in Modesto after getting drafted, where he struggled. He had an ERA near 6 and an ERA of 4.5, and the Mariners put him in high A this year. And he's turned around. He's pitched extremely well, and is now pitching against guys that are a little bit older than him at the AA level, a little bit more experienced, and he's in the rotation with some of those future Mariners arms in that rotation. It's good to see, and it certainly gives the stamp of approval of the kind of progress he's made this season. If you look at the ERA overall in Double-A, it's still in the 4s. It's not fantastic. But recently, Michael Morales has pitched really well.
That Double-A rotation's gotten really exciting here in the second half of the year. 3 of every 6 games, so half the games in a week's time for every Arkansas series. You're looking at 3 guys in the rotation that are pretty exciting and have a real future in this org. Logan Evans, Brandon Garcia, Michael Morales. So, yeah, like there's plenty of reasons to tune into those Arkansas games these days, especially with obviously Cole Young's there, obviously Harry Ford's there, but you've got some arms that are really worth keeping tabs on. We'll say that. So it's pretty cool. Shout out Michael Morales.
Pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm. Well, Russell Wilson Umpire of the Week. The man was just named the starter this week, by the way, in Pittsburgh. Wow. This might be his last chance. If he fails again, he's done. He's done as a starter in the NFL. Like, let me just say that. But for the umpire, who do we have?
We'll also go to Pittsburgh, funny enough. Glad you mentioned that. So Scott Berry, you've probably seen this clip, was umping behind home plate. It was a blowout game. The Pirates were trailing the Cubs. I think it was like by 11 runs at this point. And the Pirates called on Rowdy Tellez to pitch. Now, in case you're unfamiliar, Rowdy Tellez is not a pitcher. And he was lobbing balls in there at like 30 to 40 miles an hour. But Scott Berry, who apparently just wanted to go home here, called a pitch that was outside by 14 inches a strike. Do I need to repeat the number? 14 inches? He missed. Call it a strike. Truly incredible. Even the announcers, who are also probably ready to go home, are like, did he just call that a strike? It's like, wow. Incredible. So congratulations to Scott Berry, the worst called strike in umpire auditor, the Twitter account history. Congratulations.
That is unreal. Lines right up. Lines right up with Russ being named the starter this week. It was only fitting you'd have a call like that. You know? He really just
a little bit up and outside. No DK Metcalf there to catch it for you. No. Speaking of that.
Not over the middle, that's for sure.
Definitely not. Let's get to Speak Your Mind. Yeah, we can lead off with that. How many starts is it going to take for Justin Fields to take over? 3 weeks?
I'll say less than half the year. Why on earth would they bring Justin Fields into town, a guy who's still in his mid-20s, if your plan for the long term wasn't to at least see what he can do, right?
They probably saw what he could do.
What's that?
It's not like Justin Fields lit the world on fire during training camp.
No, but I still feel like the Steelers are likely going to be more intrigued to see what he's got long term. Because if he proves anything, then you've kind of got your guy in the building moving forward. I don't really know what you're getting out of Russ at this point. I don't think he's going back to anything close to what he was going to be here. I mean, is he going to be what he was in Denver? Who knows? But
I think Mike Tomlin just hopes there's a little magic left in the bottle of Russell Wilson. I think that's what he hopes. I think he hopes that whatever's left in there is better than what Justin Fields offers in his prime. Because both players playing at their peak, Lyle, we know who's better.
Well, yeah.
So I think that's what Mike Tomlin hopes. He's going to have a good defense. I'm sure they anticipated Brandon Ayuk being available, but he signed today. I think Russ would do a lot better if he had Brandon Ayuk on that team instead of George Pickens and
Deontay Johnson?
No, he got traded.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to take a guess that's what it was. I'm going to take a guess. I would also like to take this time and Speak Your Mind to re-highlight just the abysmalness of my Dynasty fantasy quarterback room. Again, I just want to remind some of our new listeners, in case you ever want to take fantasy football advice, go to me last. Let me tell you what my Dynasty fantasy quarterback room is. So it consists of the Pittsburgh Steelers' current quarterback room, yes, both of them, and Bryce Young.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, the Steelers' second receiver is Van Jefferson. You're right, Deontay Johnson's not there anymore. That's real.
Yeah, I don't know who Russ is throwing to. And Najee is still there, right? Najee isn't even that good.
No. Russ is not lasting the whole year as a starter.
No. They're probably going to start equal games, if I'm going to be honest.
Right. And again, if Russ cannot prove he's a proven starter this year, I think he is basically done as a starter in the NFL.
Which is crazy because 3 years ago, you and I would both say he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't know if we'd say that anymore.
Nope.
Can say that. Yeah,
Crazy.
It's pretty wild.
I have a couple more things. First off, Shohei's dog was the best thing I've ever seen this week. That was truly incredible. Shohei had his dog Decoy run a first pitch to him. Like, I thought that was literally the best thing I've ever seen. Right, Lyle?
Sure. Yeah, whatever.
Wow, you sound excited.
Yeah, well,
all he wants to do is serve you. That's it.
I don't know. Yeah, it could be beg to differ. And fly to Toronto, of course. Decoy, a.k.a. a decoy flight to Toronto.
Yeah, that's funny. I feel like he did. Yeah, that was on purpose, wasn't it?
Could be.
Naming the dog that?
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I have no idea.
Just a coincidence. Damn it. My other speak your mind was going to be college football's back, finally. It's good to know. Colorado did win, by the way, by 5.
Is Dion about to pop champagne in the locker room after?
Well, he's about to go do the gritty in Sean Keeler's media seat.
Is that the North Dakota State head coach?
No, it's the columnist he banned.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what a time. It really is unbelievable, the power trip that college football coaches are constantly on. It's hilarious. Like, they basically say and do whatever they want, and they just know they can't get punished for it because they essentially have more power in these college towns than sometimes the mayors.
Do you they're just like such weird people, right? Is that a good way to describe it?
Yeah,
college football coaches, like, you need to be a little like off to be a college coach.
Take one look at Dabo Swinney. Like, we could sit here and make fun of Dabo Swinney forever. We're not going to do it, but we could.
Yeah.
Like, if you know what, I'll just leave it with this. If anybody hasn't seen the Dabo Swinney TikTok, go look it up right now. And here's what you're looking for. It is a lullaby about how Dabo Swinney is on TikTok, and I'll leave it at that. You can watch the rest. Honestly, speaking of Russell Wilson, who was featured earlier in this segment, I'm not going to say it's Mr. Unlimited level of cringe. It's not that far off.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Are there any other... I would say most every coach has something that's just like...
Yeah.
Weird.
For sure.
So, it's back. It's back. And the 12-team playoff still sucks. Sorry. Can't believe we're already talking about it. I guess Florida State's first game didn't matter at all, did it?
I guess not. I mean, in the NFL, first games don't always matter that much.
Is it the NFL already? I must have missed it.
Well.
Don't we already have a league like that?
Money talks. What do you want me to say?
No, you're not wrong on that.
My only speak your mind this week is, man, getting up early is tough. I got to tell you.
Oh, I have an idea for you.
And before you can even chime in, I was going to say, I am open to all suggestions for how to get used to it that do not involve drinking caffeine.
Oh. Well,
sorry. I'm not a caffeine drinker. And guess what? Salk isn't either.
Drink some water. Water helps you wake up. Fresh air and water.
All right. Water helps sometimes. But, yeah, point being, so I'm absolutely loving being on Brock and Salk. It's been awesome for all you guys that have tuned in so far. Well, both when we host, obviously, but even just, the regular shows, which I'm now a part of. Like, thank you guys. It's been genuinely, it's been a ton of fun. And every morning, day, I look forward to going because I really do have a blast on the show. The toughest part is dragging yourself out of bed. So as TJ knows, because we've had to share hotel rooms, like when we're at All-Star Week, when we've been at spring training.
I can do a whole fucking speak your mind on this.
I guess it's just how I'm wired. I don't know. I cannot get up on the first alarm. Honestly, it takes, like, when you get up this early, I'm not getting up in the first 3 alarms. So I make it a goal to leave at about somewhere between 5 and 5:10 every morning to get there on time. And I'm setting my first alarm at 3:50 because I need like 20 alarms to make sure, 1, I get myself out of bed, and 2, I don't oversleep. So that's what I'm battling with right now. Like I do want to harp on everything about the job has been a ton of fun, and I couldn't be more thrilled that I'm a part of it. It's just the getting up at the crack of dawn, not even the crack of dawn, like before 4 a.m. It's really hard. So I am open to all suggestions that don't involve coffee.
Doesn't it get tedious setting 20 alarms all night?
Yes.
Every night?
But you know what would be worse? If you set like 2 and then all of a sudden you turn over what you think is 30 to 60 seconds after the second alarm goes off and it's 8:30.
I have a great suggestion for you. Ready?
What?
Soon as that first alarm goes off, put your feet on the floor.
It's not that easy.
Yes, it is.
I've talked
Once
to other
you
people
force
that
yourself to do it.
I have talked to other people that say the same thing, that they just cannot get up on the first alarm.
Every routine has to start somewhere.
Well, I've got a routine. I just make sure I don't oversleep. I set like 20 alarms.
Well, I'm telling it. Staying drowsy for 30 minutes certainly also doesn't help you wake up.
If I was waking up at 6 a.m., I honestly don't think I'd need that many alarms. Maybe I'd still need like a couple, but it wouldn't be that many. It is because I'm losing sleep a decent amount of the time now, because again, it's all for good reason, because we absolutely love doing this podcast, but sometimes when we do this podcast, it leads to us staying up a little bit late, and then I don't get a lot of sleep. So yeah, that's why it's that much harder. If I was on more of a regular sleep schedule, like I got to bed at 10, even 11, honestly, even like 11:30, 12, and I was getting up at 6 and it was 6 hours of sleep, wouldn't be so bad. But we're talking, there's a lot of days where it's 3 to 4.
Okay, so I actually have a better idea. Charge your phone across the room.
Yeah, I could try that.
So that makes you get up to turn your alarm off.
Right. But
and once you're standing up, it's like, can't go back to sleep now.
That's not true. You could still be like, I feel like I'd be so tired. I'd say, well, I'll sit back down, like lay back down in bed for a couple minutes, and then it leads to you falling back asleep. Well, it's gonna be a tough.
I'm telling you, it all starts somewhere.
Yeah, it does. Well, that's not a bad suggestion. If other people have suggestions, I'll take them, as long as it doesn't involve, again, drinking coffee, because I don't want to be a caffeine person. I just really don't want to rely on caffeine to stay awake and become addicted.
Drink tea.
I'm trying to stay off of it. Unlike TJ, who gets headaches.
Small ones.
Yeah, well, still.
Wouldn't trade it for the world, Lyle.
Well, I would. So, anyway, that's what my speaker mind is this week. Yeah, hard to get up. Overall, though, obviously, it's been a bunch of fun. And the two of us, once again, are very, very much looking forward to hosting the show on Monday here on Labor Day. It'll be either 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. We will be on for a minimum of 3 hours. Just sometimes the holiday schedule differs. So tune in. Hopefully you guys have some time to check it out, because we're really looking forward to it. We think it's going to be a really fun show, and we can't wait to get back on the air with you guys. So yeah, that's the last little part of my Speak Your Mind. But that'll just about wrap up this edition of the Marine Layer Podcast. You guys know the drill. You want to listen to the full form podcast, you can do so wherever you get your audio pods. If you want to support us, the best thing you can do is download the episodes, rate and review 5 stars. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Really, that is the best thing you can do to help us out. Subscribe, hit a like on this video, drop a comment, and then follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube Shorts, @Marine Layer Pod. That's TJ. I'm Lyle. As always, we thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you soon.